Congratulations on the purchase of your new Polydoor. We highly recommend you hire a professional installer who has the experience and understanding of the mechanisms. Knowledge and preparation are required for this installation. In order to be safe, secure, and trouble-free for a long time, you must ensure it is installed properly. This video is designed as an installation guide to be used along with your instruction manual. Before you begin, consult the manual and make sure you have all the required tools, materials, and hardware. Double-check you have enough headroom and side room as described in the manual. Stack the polycarbonate panels with their exterior side facing down and the bottom panel on top. The bottom panel can be identified by the rubber attached to the bottom edge. Make sure the door panels you've received match the size of your door opening. On a flat surface, lay out all your hardware. Check the manual to make sure you have everything you need. We'll start with the bottom panel. Attach the left corner bracket using the self-tapping screws. Then, use the pre-punched holes to align and center the low parts of the number 1 hinges with the poly bolt. Remember that the numbers are always on the bottom half of the hinge. Insert the rollers and do the same for the center hinge, right end hinge, and right corner bracket. It's a good idea to wind the cable over the top roller to keep it out of the way. Now, use the bottom panel to locate the exact place to attach the pre-assembled vertical track. Center the bottom panel in the opening at the exact location it will be at the end of the install. Press it firmly against the ground and check to make sure that it is level. If needed, place a wooden wedge to keep the panel level. It is very important that the top ends of the vertical track are level. If needed, you may have to lift one of the tracks or cut the other. Using the wood lag, fasten one vertical track to the jamb, leaving a 1/4 inch or 6 millimeters between the track and the end of the panel. Place the second vertical track on the other side of the door, in the same way as the first, and temporarily fasten it to the jamb for security. Make sure you thread the cable from the bottom bracket up through the vertical track as you place each panel. Attach hinges to the next panel, also called an intermediate panel. You only need to put hinges on the top edge of the panel. Ease rollers into the vertical tracks and place on top of the bottom panel. Watch your fingers. Attach the hinges located on the top rail of the bottom panel to the intermediate panel, using the pre-punched holes and poly bolts. Now, thread the cable up through the vertical track. Repeat these steps for each intermediate panel. Before placing the top panel, fully secure the second vertical track, leaving the same 1/4 inch between the track and the door as on the first side. The vertical tracks must be parallel and level. To check the level, measure the distance between the top of the door and the top of the track. If they are not level, disassemble and cut or lift one of the tracks. Lift the horizontal track and fasten the steel angle of the horizontal track into the specially designed bracket of the vertical track with the track bolts. You can now install the top panel. Screw the adjustable top brackets into the top corners of the top panel with self-tapping screws. Then, ease the rollers into the track and slide down the bracket. Fasten these brackets in order to have the axle of the rollers 6 inches or 150 millimeters from the top section, and leaving the same space between the door and the track as for the hinges. Fasten the remaining hinges. Remember to pull the cable through the top bracket. Using your drill, tighten all screws and nuts. Now here's where it gets tricky. Please be advised that there is a lot of tension in these springs, as it will support the entire weight of the door. Any sudden or uncontrolled release of these springs is dangerous and could cause serious injury. Always use clamps or locking pliers to prevent the door from moving. Torsion springs require the use of a steel winding rod to add or release tension. Never use a screwdriver, as it could easily slip and cause an accident or injury. Make sure the end of the spring is facing up. This means the shaft is positioned correctly. The cable drums are marked with paint, red on the left side and black on the right side. They are also labeled L for left and R for right. Place ends of torsion shaft into end plates of vertical track. Fasten the spring anchor bracket to the back wall. The shaft must be centered, straight, and level. Please exercise extreme caution and make sure you've read through the manual before proceeding. Remember to lock the door in closed position with the lock grip pliers, fixed to a vertical track just above the roller. Place a winding rod in the winding cone, and then loosen the set screws on the cone of the spring. Wind the springs toward the ceiling. The number of turns is stated on the spring plate. There is also a chart of required turns in the manual. Always place the second winding rod securely in place before removing the first. Placing a chalk or paint line along the entire length of the spring before winding will help you count the turns. Tighten the set screws of the winding cone. Leave one winding rod in place for extra support as you install the cable into the drum. Once the torsion spring has been wound and locked in place, hook the end of the cable with a stop sleeve to the special notch on the drum. Turn the drum manually until there is tension in the cables, and lock it with the pressure set screws on the drum. Repeat this for the other side. It is important that both drums have identical tension. Once the cable is on the drum, remove pliers carefully. Open the door slightly to feel how it's running on the track. Leaving it open, about 2.5 feet, lock it with the pliers and install the rear hangers. Align the horizontal tracks with the door header and keep exactly the same distance between the tracks. Fasten a piece of perforated steel above the horizontal track and measure the distance between them. There must be a slight upward slope in the horizontal tracks, 1/8 of an inch per foot in door height. Cut and fasten 2 more lengths of perforated steel and attach them to prevent movement of the track. Lastly, remove the locking pliers and open the door manually. If the door is balanced, it should stabilize where you stop pushing it up or pulling it down. If not, you will have to adjust the spring. Only add or take on half a turn at a time, then check. Make sure to follow all safety precautions each time, and to not forget to tighten the pressure screws before taking out the winding rod. For additional features such as adding a slide lock, installing weather stripping, and other helpful hints, consult your manual or visit our website at polydoor.com.